and the surge in rooftop solar. Joining us live this morning, the Liberal Senator Jane Hume. Good to see you this morning, Jane. So, according to the report, there are enough renewables and power lines to be delivered by 2027, but the concern is the safe and stable flow of electricity. So how do you marry that with your party's own energy ambitions?
Pete, this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. The renewables rollout, that ideological approach that Chris Bowen and the Labor Party have taken, we've been saying for some time, isn't just pushing prices up, it's also risking the stability of the grid. Now, the Coalition wants to see affordable and reliable and responsible energy delivered to all Australians that will bring prices down over time, but also make sure that when you press that switch, that the lights actually turn on. AEMO is sounding the warning here around Eraring, and that is no surprise. It is due to close in the next couple of years. I think it's 2027 Eraring is due to close. And it looks like there's going to need to be an extension, a sweating of those assets. Now, that's Origin Energy's decision, but last year, all energy ministers around Australia signed into legislation the power to extend coal-fired generation around the country. So Chris Bowen obviously talks a big game on emissions reduction, but at the same time has extended his own powers, as well as every other energy minister's powers, to continue to sweat those assets. Now we're hearing, though, the problem isn't necessarily sweating the assets, it's getting the technology right to enable those assets to then stabilise the grid, because of this ideological obsession with the renewables energy rollout. That's all because Chris Bowen has set targets for both 2030 and 2035 that are going to not just cost Australians more, but potentially cause blackouts on the East Coast.
So would it be your preference, your hope, that Eraring is extended beyond 2027, that there is an option to do so?
Certainly, the Coalition's energy plan for affordable energy and responsible approach to reducing emissions allows for the continued use of existing coal-fired power stations. And it's not just Eraring that we're talking about, of course. I mean, Eraring is responsible for around 25% of New South Wales power. But there's also Yallourn in my home state of Victoria, due to close in 2028. It's responsible for around 16% of the power in Victoria's grid. And there is at this stage, no credible plan to replace that 16% of the power. It is putting the grid at risk, and of course, it's pushing prices up at the same time.
Well, not just that too. I mean, Cam Redden has crunched some details this morning. Flynn in Queensland closing in 2029. A whole range of them are going to be coming offline. So do you think, there should be an option to extend, a whole lot of them? Is that basically fits in with your wish?
Well, certainly the energy ministers right around the country now have the power to be able to enforce those coal-fired power stations to continue operation in order to keep the grid functioning. But we need to make sure that the technology is there to allow that, not just have the assets working, but the transmission and transition arrangements for those transmissions to be in place as well. Now, people are working overtime to make sure that that happens. But in the meantime, what we're seeing is industries go offshore because of rising energy prices, jobs be moved offshore, a lack of investment in the system, and some of the lowest investment in that renewable energy that is supposed to replace the coal-fired power energy in over a decade in the last 12 months. So this is a failing program by the Labor government that is not only not delivering lower energy prices, as they promised, $275 off their bill was the promise before they were elected, but is also now risking those industries. And we've seen them already, whether it be Tomago, aluminium, or Kinos Plastics, or in Incitec Pivot, or Oceania Glass, again in my state of Victoria. These are massive and really important industries for Australia that we're seeing shut down before our eyes. And those jobs are not coming back anytime soon under Chris Bowen's ideological approach to the energy transition.
Well, so what the New South Wales government is aiming to do now is to speed up Transgrid's installation of synchronous condensers. But to get a stable grid, it's unlikely before 2028. It just feels like these stations are going to have to be extended, doesn't it?
Well, I'm no engineer. I'm going to trust the word of AEMO here, and they've really bailed the cat on this one. In fact, the BCA have told us that in order to get to Labor's ideological 2035 approach to reducing emissions and increasing the renewables rollout, we're going to need around $530 billion of capital investment to get there. That's an eye-watering amount of money. And that's on top of the $5.3 billion that's already been spent by this government in the last 3 years for subsidies to households and businesses for those rising energy costs. This is a crisis of the Labor government's making, and I'm not entirely sure they have the solutions to fix it.
All right, on Eraring, yeah, there is the option to extend the life of Eraring until 2029 if it's still needed. So we'll see where that ends up. Just a final one here, Jane. Jess Wilson, she's polling pretty well since she was installed as the Liberal leader in the state of Victoria. It's Freshwater's got her in an election-winning position. It also had Brad Batten in an election-winning position, by the way. But still, I mean, the signs are there for the Liberal Party, are they not?
Well, we can certainly feel in Victoria that there is a mood for change. We're 1 year out now from the next state election. And, you know, Victoria is in a very bad way. We have the highest debt to gross state product ratio around the country. We've seen productivity fall harder and faster in Victoria than any other state. Our income per capita is lower than every other state bar Tasmania. We're seeing rising crime, increased cost of living. Victoria is in a really bad way, and a change of government is the only thing that is going to improve our lot down there. Lower those taxes, improve our standard of living, decrease the increasing amount of crime that we're seeing, particularly violent crime and home invasions. So I'm very pleased to see this very positive response to Jess Wilson taking on the reins of the Liberal Party down there. She's fantastic. A new fresh face, a new approach to Liberal Party politics, and I'm looking forward to introducing her to the electorate.
Anything can happen in politics, especially a year out from the election, but we'll see how it goes. Jane, thanks for your time. Quick check.